Yo, what is going on, Raider Nation? It's your boy Small Raider back at it again with another video. Happy Friday. I thought today, you know what? I drop another 3-round mock draft for our Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, we know that the Raiders got a lot of needs going into this year's draft, heck, going into the offseason. And even though we don't have our head coach yet or our GM yet, I felt like, you know what? I'll play GM for the day. These are the players that I feel like the Raiders should go out and get. These are some of my favorite players that I wouldn't mind getting. Now, I did a 3-round mock draft. I don't think I'm going to do a whole 7-round mock draft until the whole season is officially over. In that way, we could see where we actually land in the draft, where we pick. But you know what, though? 3 rounds ain't too bad. Plus, PFF be hoeing us around with paying for extra rounds, which I'm not going to do right now. So I thought I'd drop a mock draft video just for the heck of it, so you guys could tell me how bad it is. But with that said, though, Raider Nation, if this is the very first time you're coming across my channel and you love the Las Vegas Raiders and you want to see more Raider videos on a daily basis, man, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon button just to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. Now, in the very first round with the 6th pick, these are the players that got drafted right before us. Of course, we're not going to get any of the top quarterbacks, but it is what it is. I feel like the Raiders at this point should go best player available, not try to force themselves into getting a quarterback or reaching up for a quarterback here. Now, I know a lot of things can change as the draft process continues, and maybe some of these quarterbacks move up, but as far as right now, I have the Raiders selecting edge Abdul out of Penn State. Now, I do believe that if Carter is still here on the board for the Raiders, you go and get him. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of people out there saying we should just bring back Malcolm Coons, bring back Jaxson, and we should be straight. Nah, if you could get a guy like Abdul in the first round, especially at number 6, he should be a top 5 pick. You go get him. He's one of, if not the best defensive player in this year's draft. He's an elite athlete, explosive off the edge, with a high motor, impressive IQ, and is a playmaker. Imagine having that alongside of Max Crosby. We can also bring back Malcolm Koonce and Jaxson if we want to do that in free agency, but that doesn't stop us from going out and adding more depth at that position. Solidify that defensive line by any means. We still got Tyree Wilson. We still got Christian Wilkins. We still got Max Crosby. We still got other guys like Adam Butler and anybody else that we want to keep on this roster. But if the Raiders can upgrade at that position, if the Raiders can solidify the defensive line, it just does wonders for everybody else in the secondary. And for me, if he's sitting there on the board, I would definitely get him. Now, as you guys already know, Abdul is an incredibly athletic defender with the ability to cover ground quickly, both in coverage and in pursuit of the ball. His explosiveness is one of his standout traits. He's capable of getting into the backfield with quickness and creating disruption. This makes him a potential game changer in both run defense and pass rush situations. I believe that he would be a perfect fit for the Raiders, not only because he's a great athlete, but the fact that he could provide immediate impact on the defensive side of the ball and could easily be a day 1 starter. And on top of that, you look at his versatility and his flexibility on the defensive side of the ball. He could play at the edge. He could play inside linebacker. He could play in coverage. He can do all things that we want. And knowing that the Raiders do need help at many positions on the defensive side of the ball, Abdul is your guy, and I believe that he will complement Max Crosby perfectly. Now, my pro comparison for Abdul ironically, is Micah Parsons. Of course, coming out of the same school, wearing the same number. I know a lot of people could say that he's the Temu Micah Parsons, but heck, I take the Temu Micah Parsons than anybody else at this point. So if he could play up to or even become somewhat of what Micah Parsons is over there in Dallas, over here in Las Vegas, then I think this is a home run hit for the Raiders. Now, moving on to the 2nd round of the NFL draft with pick number 37, I have the Raiders selecting quarterback Jaxson out of Ole Miss. Now, I know a lot of y'all are going to be happy about this because I know you guys came at my head in the last mock draft for getting Jalen Moreau, and I do believe that Jalen Moreau could be a solid quarterback in the NFL draft, but his counterpart that everybody's been kind of wanting has been Jaxson and I do love Jaxson and I believe that Jaxson can be a really, really good quarterback in the NFL with the right system and the right coaches and the right team around him. Dart is a dual threat playmaking quarterback with a strong arm and deep ball accuracy, a quick learner, and has high football IQ, and can be a quarterback that is poised under pressure. Now, I know that the quarterback position is going to be one big need for the Raiders, and the big question for us is who will be that quarterback for us in the 2025 season. A lot of people might think that Aiden O'Connell could be the starter, and maybe he could, but if there's a quarterback in the draft that we want to get outside of, Shedeur Sanders or even Cam Ward, you got to look at the other guys. And looking at the draft process right now, it just seems like Jaxson Dart's names has been slowly rising up the draft boards right now. And he was easily like a 3rd round pick in all the mock drafts, and heck, PFF has him ranked as the 193rd prospect off the board. They gave me an F for this pick, but I know the Raider Nation will be happy about this. And then also, looking at other quarterbacks in the past, just looking at last season, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy were all touted as 2nd round picks, but they all moved up the draft board, obviously because team needs, and obviously with, the combine and even pro days, they slowly crept up. And I feel like the same thing's going to happen to Jaxson Dart and maybe even Jalen Moreau. Of course, with all the great things that I'm saying right now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have any weaknesses. That doesn't mean that he's a perfect quarterback, because some of his biggest weaknesses is being inconsistent and also causing turnovers. Now, he also does have some accuracy issues, on shorter throws and even under pressure, and has a tendency to lock onto primary targets too early. Another big knock on him is the fact that he hasn't played a lot of top tier teams in college, but I don't really knock that against him. Yes, he might not have played against the top tier teams or the top tier defenses, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be a bad quarterback in the NFL. I still believe that Jaxson Dart, with his mobility, the fact that he can throw and run the ball, we need a dual threat quarterback. That's where the NFL is kind of like leaning towards with quarterbacks. That's one of his biggest strengths, and he does kind of remind me of Josh Allen. I'm not gonna say that he's on the same level of Josh Allen, but I'm just saying the skill sets that he provides kind of looks like a little Josh Allen-esque. But Jaxson Dart is an exciting, dynamic quarterback who would bring both talent and energy to the Las Vegas Raiders. His dual threat ability, strong arm, and improving football IQ make him an ideal prospect for a team looking for their next franchise quarterback. With the Raiders focusing on rebuilding and finding a long-term solution at quarterback, Dart's combination of raw talent and development potential makes him a perfect pick for the future of the franchise. And like I said before, for Jaxson Dart to improve and become successful in the NFL, I believe that you have to pair him up with an offensive-minded head coach. Someone like a Ben Johnson, who I believe can bring the best out of any player that he coaches. And Jaxson Dart will need an offensive mind like Ben Johnson. Not only that, we also got to bring in a solid quarterbacks coach that can help develop him. Now, I do believe that Jaxson Dart would also be a perfect pairing for a veteran quarterback that we bring into free agency. There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks in the market. The Raiders are going to be in the quarterback market in free agency. So I wouldn't throw Jaxson Dart out there to be the day one starter unless he goes out into camp and he just wows the coaching staff with how fast that he's picking up the game. And as I said before, the road to the NFL draft is going to be really crucial for a lot of players, especially the quarterback market. And a guy like Jaxson Dart, who wants to rise up into the first round, he's going to be playing in the Senior Bowl, and that's going to be where a lot of people's eyes are going to be locked on. And if he could go out there and wow scouts at the Senior Bowl, who knows? He might end up being a first-round pick. Maybe we will have to draft him with the 6th overall pick. But that's yet to be seen. There's going to be pro day. There's going to be combines. So Jaxson Dart's going to be one name that I know a lot of Raider Nation is going to keep their eye on. Now, my pro comparison for Jaxson Dart, at his ceiling, I could see shades of Jalen Hurts and a little bit of Justin Fields, but definitely Jalen Hurts with his dual threat ability and the fact that he does have that deep ball accuracy. Now, fast forward to the 3rd round of the NFL draft. I know that the Raiders have 2 picks. Shout out to Devontae Adams. But with the 68th overall pick in the 3rd round, I have the Raiders selecting running back Devin Neal out of Kansas. I know, might not be the name that a lot of people know or a lot of people might want to hear. I know a lot of people want to get Cam Scatterbo. A lot of people want to get Quinshon Judkins. There's other running backs out there, but I kind of grown accustomed to Devin Neal. I've been looking at a lot of tape. I've been looking at a lot of highlights and even just looking at his draft profile. And I really like him here in the 3rd round. He's one guy that's going to be an underrated pick for anybody who drafts him in this year's draft. But sitting here in the 3rd round, I couldn't pass him up, man. Now, Neal is a dual threat back and a natural pass catcher, has great vision and great IQ. He also has great patience and has the ability to make defenders miss in open space. Also a well-balanced runner who's been successful in college. And when you compare him to all the other running backs in this year's draft class, like I said, this draft class is going to be filled with a lot of solid running backs, whether in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round. But when you pair him up against a lot of those other guys, he's had a lot of low volume, a lot of low carries, but high production. And that's what you want out of running back. Who knows if the next head coach that comes in utilizes the running back as much as, John Gruden did, or even as much as AP wanted to do. But if we can expect, a lot of high production out of a back that doesn't need a lot of carries, that'll be great for the Raiders. Now, he is a bit undersized and he doesn't have that lateral quickness or breakaway speed and may not even be your typical short yardage situational running back. I still believe that Devin Neal could be an RB1 in the NFL. And heck, maybe maybe even for our Las Vegas Raiders. Now, just like the quarterback position, I do believe that a pick like Devin Neal in the 3rd round would be paired up perfectly with a free agent veteran running back. You know, there's going to be a lot of solid running backs in the free agent market, and I don't know if we're going to pay high for any of them. You got guys like Najee Harris, AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, just to name a few. And then with, you know, current Raiders that are going to be free agents, Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah, we definitely are going to need a running back. Like I said, we could go in so many different directions, but the one thing that I would give Devin Neal is the fact that he has a lot of upside to become that RB1. And there's been a lot of comparisons. I've been looking back and forth trying to look at who be the perfect comparison for Devin Neal, and one name that kept popping up is Dalvin Cook and even David Montgomery. So just take that as you will. I believe a 1-2 combination in the backfield would be perfect for the Raiders moving forward. But what do y'all think, Raider Nation? Let me know down in the comments below. And with the 73rd pick, the 2nd pick that we have in the 3rd round, I have the Raiders selecting wide receiver Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. Now, I know that wide receiver is going to be a big need for the Raiders, and there's so many wide receivers that we could go out and get in the 1st or even the 2nd round. But one guy that was still here in the 3rd round that I thought, you know what, he would be a perfect pairing with the quarterback that we just selected in the 2nd round, Jaxson Dart, because he's Jaxson Dart's #1 wide receiver at Ole Miss. Trey Harris is a big physical receiver with great ball skill and body control. And even though he's not touted as an elite route runner, he's improved his route running this past season. Now, I know that he was injured in 2024, missed a couple of games due to a ankle and groin injury, but I don't think that's going to stop him from being a solid wide receiver in the NFL. Now, the Raiders' current receiver room has Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, with tight end Brock Bowers also contributing in the passing game. However, the team lacks depth at the wide receiver position, especially after trading away Devontae Adams. Harris's versatility and skill set could complement the existing receivers and provide the Raiders with a reliable target addressing a pressing need for additional receiving talent. Now, of course, Trey Harris ain't the perfect wide receiver. I don't think anybody's perfect out here other than Abdul Carter, but you know, he lacks that breakaway speed. He doesn't have that separation, and that could possibly be a problem for him in the NFL. But that hasn't stopped a lot of other people from being great in the NFL. So I just think that his chemistry with Jaxson Dart will help him, and just going throughout, you know, rookie mini camps and seeing eye to eye with our future franchise quarterback can only do wonders for this team. Now, in no way am I saying that he's going to be a wide receiver 1 out of the gates, but I do believe that he could work his way up into being a solid contributor on the offensive side of the ball. And with a guy like Ben Johnson, who could possibly be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, he can bring out the best out of all of these young players. My pro comparison for Trey Harris is Michael Thomas. So with all that being said, Raider Nation, that was my 3-round mock draft. If you guys enjoy this or want to see more, hit that like button. I want to do more mock drafts and kind of learn a lot of these new players and whatnot, because it's going to be interesting as the offseason progresses. But let me know what you guys think about this mock draft. Where did I go wrong? Where did I reach? What was some great picks? And what grade would you even give this mock draft? Let me know down in the comments below. Until the next one, this is your boy Small Raider and your boys. Yeah.